still have significant power outages. Most of the dairies, from what I understand, have been able to come back online from a power and utility perspective, but these major water systems are down.
Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to the Comstock channel. I'm Marlin Bohling with you. And once again, I want to remind you, make sure you like these videos and subscribe to the videos by clicking on that little bell icon down below. And then, of course, share the videos with others as well as we continue to grow as one of the fastest growing ag-related podcasts out there anywhere. And it's all thanks to your help. Sure appreciate that. Well, today I'm pleased to be joined by Kaleb Rathbone. Now, he is an assistant commissioner of agriculture in North Carolina. And Kaleb, first of all, thank you for joining us here. Very important stuff we have to talk about. Now, you're the assistant commissioner for the western part of the state. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I live in western North Carolina and cover this area for the Department of Agriculture and Commissioner Troxler. So I live right in the middle of the event that's going on right now.
My goodness, were you there when the hurricane went through?
I was. Yeah, so it was, and fortunately, my home was spared. We're on high ground, and my family's homes were spared. We farm here too. Had some. We've got some issues on the farm, but that's minor compared to what a lot of the damage that we're seeing.
Well, I know from my experience out there, and by the way, for those that don't know, I worked in Raleigh. I lived out there for the early 2000s. I was there from 2002 through 2012, so I spent 10 years out there. And I remember I used to work with Steve Troxler, the Commissioner of Agriculture, on a weekly basis. And I remember him telling me, and I was surprised by that there's actually some really good corn production in the western part of North Carolina, in the highland regions. And he was telling me at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, but he said the climate up in the valleys up there was almost identical to what the climate would be in Illinois, because you get up in a higher altitude and it's a little cooler, and it maybe isn't quite as humid as it is down closer to the coast. Is that true?
Yeah, that's accurate. And with the elevation that we have in this part of the state, we've got the river bottoms, very fertile soils in a lot of the areas, and you have those cooler temperatures, particularly for normal production. Those nighttime temperatures will still get low even through the summer, and so that leads to very productive farmland, very productive crops in this region on corn, and we've got a high concentration of specialty crops and also livestock production, beef, cattle, and dairy in this area as well.
Now, I also remember that North Carolina kind of has the honor of being one of the first to usually harvest corn in the U.S. Maybe southern Texas beats you a little bit, but for whatever reason, the corn has always matured there ahead of most of the Corn Belt. So I'm curious, did the hurricane come after corn harvest, or did it get the corn before you could get it picked out there?
So the hurricane, this event impacted, I would say, the western third of the state. And so corn harvest in eastern North Carolina, down the Blacklands, and even in the Piedmont, was largely wrapped up. A good portion of the corn production in this region is for, there's a lot of grain production, but also for corn silage for the beef, cattle, and dairy. So there was a lot of corn, a lot of crops in general still left in the field. I can't really put a percentage on what was harvested before the storm, but there's was significant damage to crops still standing in the field that had not yet been harvested.
What are the key crops out there when you get into the higher elevations like that?
Yeah, so North Carolina is one of the most agriculturally diverse states in the Union, and so a lot of that diversity is here in western North Carolina. So everything from Christmas trees, trout production, beef cattle, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, apples. We've got a huge apple industry here, particularly in Henderson County, that was hit pretty hard. And so it's I would say 50 or 60 different commodities that are produced in this area that had some level of impact.
And now, when you talk about cattle production, if I remember right, there's a lot of backgrounder production out there?
There is. So there's a lot of cow-calf operations and backgrounding in the region, and you got to think about the region where we are. Our production, of course, matches the topography and climate of the region. So you've got a lot of mountainous areas that are pastures. You can't really do. I mean, it's well suited for beef cattle and dairy production. Not really conducive to anything else. And so you've got that livestock cattle production on the mountains. Use the lower lying areas for feeding and the farm bases and the farm sites, as well as feed production in the lower areas. So a tremendous amount of hay has been lost, harvested hay, barns washed away and that kind of thing. So we got a long road to recovery on making sure that our producers are able to have the feed they need to get through the winter.
Well, of course, the national media likes to focus on the towns, the damage in the towns, which are usually located along creeks and rivers in the mountain areas like that. And it is awful, but you don't really see much in the way of reporting of farms up in the high country like that. And, I got to thinking there's quite a bit of livestock production out there. What about dairies? Don't you have quite a few dairies there too?
We do have several dairies in the region, and it's been a significant impact on them. So just being able to continue operation through the past week, we still have significant power outages 10 days past the storm, 11 days past the storm. Still have significant power outages. Most of the dairies, from what I understand, have been able to come back online from a power and utility perspective, but these major water systems are down. So being able to operate the dairy plants has been a challenge. I know that some of our dairies have worked with some of the processors to haul potable water to be able to just keep the plants operating, to be able to keep that supply chain moving. And just for a little bit of perspective, so in this region, we've got, according to our ag stats, we're looking at a little over 13,000 farms that operate in this area that's been impacted and declared as a presidential disaster. And in 22, the farm gate receipts from those counties was around $2 billion. So there's a lot of small farms, family farms, but also some sizable operations as well in the region. And I would say that it would be difficult to find a farming operation that's not been impacted in some way because of this event. Of course, some more than others.
So how is your agency, the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, how is it able to offer help?
We are a relatively large state agency. So we've got approximately 2,000 employees across the state, over 30 divisions that operate everything from in normal times. So everything from North Carolina Forest Service falls within NCDA, food and drug inspections, meat and poultry, our research stations network, our marketing division, and Commissioner Troxler very early on activated and empowered every division in the department to support this effort. Our Forest Service is tied in a big way. They've been on the front lines clearing roads for crews to be able to get in to be able to get to cell towers and get communications back online. They've been involved with opening roads for emergency response. They're out on farms as well, assisting. Additionally, we have an emergency programs division at NCDA that helps organize response to disasters. I mean, North Carolina, we're no strangers to hurricanes. Typically, they're in the eastern part of the state, but we've lived. Unfortunately, we've lived through a few of these things, and we've got a great emergency programs division that operates an Ag Emergency Operations Center, housed out of Raleigh, and they are tied in with state EOC, deploying resources as we get calls. We've got a hotline set up, so as farmers have needs, immediate needs, they can call that hotline. Resources will be deployed through our Emergency Operations Center, and then our employees who are boots on the ground are able to respond. We just got a call right before I got on this program, a farmer in Henderson County who had fences down, didn't know what to do with their livestock, and so we've got a team headed out there now to assess and see what we can do to help. We've also got we've had teams out there from the beginning. A lot of them from our research station system, working with cooperative extension to make sure that supply sites are set up. on the ground helping farmers move bags of all stock feed in just to keep be able to keep those animals where they should be until a larger recovery can take place. So we really are still focused on getting through the next 2 or 3 days and then build out from there. But NCDA and Cooperative Extension, we've got some incredible people that are out there that are passionate about agriculture in general. But when something like this comes and happens, you really see the spirit of who they are and where their passions are, and they're out there helping people. We're doing everything that we can.
Do you have that 800 number handy, or that toll-free number handy there?
I do. So it's 1-866-645-9403. That's our ag emergency hotline that folks can reach out to if they need help, and also if they have resources to plug in, they can contact that number and be guided to the right place for that. Also on our website, www.ncagr.gov, there's a link to Hurricane Helene recovery and response. And so there's a wealth of information on that website as well, as far as people who are interested in donating, whether it's supplies or financially, or if they need assistance, where to go to be able to find that assistance.
All right. Well, we'll try and post a link in the description down below as well to help direct people to that website there. Once again, that 800 number, or that 866 number that you had?
It's 866-645-9403.
And just before I let you go, I know NCDA and Consumer Services, I know they have a couple of gems out in the mountain areas that a lot of people may not know about. You have a terrific farmers market, a state farmers market in the Asheville area, and you also have the Mountain State Fair that's held out there. And I believe you got that in before the hurricane hit, right?
We did. So it ran September 6th through the 15th. We had an incredible event. Attendance was up year over year, and we ended up having really nice weather for that event. So we were very fortunate for that. Got the fair cleaned up, and the fairgrounds is actually serving as a major hub of operations for response. We're a staging area for hundreds of utility company vehicles that's out on deployment. We're an incident command center for our Forest Service. There's an emergency shelter that was set up here that's being operated by the state of North Carolina and Red Cross, housing residents who have been displaced from their homes. So we're digging in. We're trying to say yes more than we say no on this thing. It's going to take everybody pulling together. Also have an incredible partnership with Manna Food Bank at our WNC Farmers Market. Our farmers markets across the state are serving as collection sites for donations. Our food distribution division is gathering those donations and bringing them to the WNC Farmers Market to get to Manna to be able to make sure we get food where it needs to be. So the outpouring of support that we have seen for this region from across North Carolina, but also across the nation, really is humbling. It's needed and it's appreciated. And I've said before, oftentimes it's in the worst of times that you see the best people. And we're certainly seeing that humanity at work right now. So thank you.
Hopefully you can get all the help you really need out there. We'll try and send more your way. Appreciate that, Kaleb. And once again, NCDA to the rescue out there in times of need. So all the best to you and everybody there on the staff and all the volunteers that are helping out as well. We wish you all the best. Stay safe out there. Thanks for the update. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Marlin.
Kaleb Rathbone with us from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, where he serves as Assistant Commissioner for the western part of the state. That'll do it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. For producer Brianne Hendrickson, I'm Marlin Bohling. We'll catch you next time right here on the Comstock channel. Thanks for joining us on our Comstock YouTube channel. Don't forget, you can also find us on Facebook and TikTok as well. Futures trading involves risk. The risk of loss in trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance is not indicative of future results.